love this area, and I know a lot of the challenges that you're going through. I've been with the Department of Insurance now about it's going to be 23 years, and we've seen a lot of different issues, especially related to non-renewals and cancellations and other issues. And so I've had the great honor of working with the last 4 insurance commissioners very closely. I was the Spanish spokesperson for the insurance commissioners, and so I got to see a lot of things. And so I want to share with you some things that we have actually are planning to implement this summer. Hopefully it'll get implemented this summer, that could really make an impact and put a dent on some of the pricing and some of these issues that are related to non-renewals. And I'll kind of end with a couple of things that folks are dealing with, and how they're overcoming some of these obstacles of non-renewals. I would say maybe 4 months ago, talking to the City Council of Chino Hills, and I was telling them a couple of ideas of how to deal with non-renewals. And I had a City Council member raise his hand. He said, exactly what Mr. Meza said, I did, and I'm still insured, even though he had gotten a non-renewal notice. So I'll touch a little bit on that as I end, but I want to go through a very important plan. It's a framework called Safer from Wildfire. Now, it may seem very vague to you, it may seem very nonchalant, but I want you to know how important this is, because it is going to be a game changer. I believe that now insurance companies are going to be required to utilize this framework as part of their pricing. Okay, it's never been done before. You hear I've been up and down the state of California hundreds of times. I kid you not. I've been in Paradise probably 12 times at least, and in different presentations with the city there, and town halls and so forth. I've been at the Tubbs fires at Santa Rosa when it happened, and immediately thereafter dealing with a lot of the issues and so forth, just everywhere. I was at Coastal Fire just a week ago talking to many of the victims individually came up, and so there are a lot of issues going on, but I really feel that what I'm going to be presenting to you today is that game changer. That game changer, that thing that really changes things. So I want to go ahead and get into it and just explain a little bit about what it is and how important it is for you to know about it. I'm going to start with the role of the commissioner. I think it's important for everyone to know what his role is, because a lot of times folks say, hey, he's the insurance commissioner, and this is the commissioner's office. So let me just talk a little bit about what he can do and what he cannot do, okay? So the commissioner's office is here to protect consumers by ensuring a fair and competitive insurance market. There is the balance between keeping it fair and competitive and making sure that the prices are good for the consumers, and at the same time that it's a very strong and robust insurance market for the insurance companies to make money, right? You got to keep that balance. You don't want to throw them so far off there. It's like, you know what? We can't do business in California. So you want to make sure it's a balance between the two things. Maintain insurer solvency through appropriate property and casualty rates, conducting market conduct reviews. I can go into all the details of these things, but I'll just be general. Resolving consumer complaints and investigating and prosecuting insurance fraud. This is all the role of the insurance commissioner, specifically to Prop 103, how it was written. Enforce the insurance laws of California. Notice that any changes to the insurance code require legislation. You got to get the state legislature to change things if we want to, really it to be part of the insurance code. We cannot require, compel, or mandate insurance to sell commercial or even any type of insurance to any given policyholder. So it is, that's where you get these folks saying, well, hey, we're going to tell insurance companies that they don't sell on the WUI, which is the wild, the urban interface. You can't say that. Just if they don't sell there, they can't sell anywhere in the state of California. You want to keep that balance. So understand, we have certain limitations and there's some things we can do. But we're going to talk about what we can do in a minute. Okay? Let me just briefly brag a little bit about what we've done, because really we've talked to a lot of folks, over 25,000 people, even during this pandemic. So we've had about 60 virtual town hall events, and we've reached over 40 counties since 2019. So we're out there still trying to get the word out, communicate this information. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of what has happened between 2019 and 2021. It was the one-year moratorium that finally was able to be utilized for the first time in the history of the Department of Insurance. What is the one-year moratorium? It is all because of AB 824, I believe it is. And it gives the commissioner the authority to say, hey, after a wildfire, insurance companies cannot cancel for a year. You know, they cannot non-renew you for a year when there's a disaster in that particular area and then the surrounding zip codes, okay? So we're trying to get tools. We're trying to get tools for the community. And we were finally able to use it for the first time, I believe it was 2019. And ever since then, we've actually been able to do that moratorium in other areas. So it's protected at least 4 million folks during that time period. We've also, since 2019, been able to increase non-renewals. So when you get a non-renewal notice, used to be 45 days and you would have to get a new insurance company. We actually extended that time now. Insurance companies are required to give you 75 days. That's better than 45 days. It's not probably enough, but it gives you more time, okay? So we've increased the wild survival insurance benefits through legislation. There's been a lot of legislation that has been passed, a lot of increases, a lot of protections for insurers, especially after disaster. And I can get into details if you want me to as we go on. Partnership with the with Governor Newsom's office. And this is to establish statewide hardening standards, okay? Like, I've been traveling the state, and I kid you not, I talked to all kinds of organizations, the real estate board, and you name it, and everybody's talking about, oh, there are standards or statewide standards. That's really nice, okay? But what have the insurance companies been doing the whole time? Oh, yeah, you guys have all this home hardening techniques and these mitigation benchmarks that people need to use and utilize. And the insurance company, they just kind of sit back and they've been kind of watching it and say, yeah, it's really nice. But they've never been obligated to utilize those and make it part of their pricing. It's not until now. You have to understand that, okay? I want you to recognize the difference between what was then and what is now going into effect. Now it is being mandated. We are putting regulations into effect. We had hearings, and they were hybrid, and we had the industry come in. We talked about a lot of things. So I want you to understand we're in a different time today, as I'm speaking here in 2022. And we expect these regulations to go into effect in 2022. The Safer from Wildfire framework that I'm going to explain to you right now is going to be the connection. The framework is going to be the connection to the regulations, okay? So it's the first of its kind. It's an established statewide home hardening. These are standards. Many of them have already been used, by the way, by CAL FIRE and the Orange County Fire Authority. I hear them and I'm like, yeah, that's all, because these standards were basically came from fire departments and CAL FIRE and so forth. So this framework is that's where we gathered that information. So, okay. Let me talk a little bit of some of the other actions that we've done. So I had a couple of folks in the coastal fire that actually were insured through the FAIR plan. If you don't know about the FAIR plan, it's a place of last resort. And a couple of the folks said, you know what, the limits was not sufficient for what I had. And so I want you to know that the FAIR plan used to be, if I can get back to it for a minute, it just does its own thing. Don't worry, I'm sure it's not anybody trying to do that. I know this PowerPoint, it's got a little demon in it or something. I can't figure it out. But the point is this about the FAIR plan, is that forever, I would say for at least a good 20 years, the limits had not been lifted, okay? So we have raised the limits on not only commercial, business has gone from I think it was $3.5 million, now it is to $7 million, okay? And then commercial property has gone from $4.5 million all the way to $8.5 million. That is the limits for property, okay? And then the individual dwelling homes, the limit has gone from $1.5 million to $3 million. So it was forever, very low. It stayed through the 90s, and we have recently got that raised up. So I'm just trying to tell you a little bit of what we're doing, just to help you along, and You understand that we're doing some things, okay? So here it is. Here is what I came to talk to you about, okay? Safer from wildfire. It's a partnership between the Insurance Commissioner, Ricardo Lara, and the emergency agencies in Governor Gavin Newsom's office. It's to protect lives, homes, and business by reducing wildfire risk, okay? So, the Department of Insurance, the Governor's Office of Emergency Service, CAL FIRE, Governor's Office of Planning and Research, and the CPCU, and it's the first of its kind to certify achievable and effective strategies for homes, businesses, and communities. And it was announced in February 22. The hearing was in April 13th of this year, and we anticipate the filing. It's going through our Office of Administrative Law, and they will eventually, once everything gets all cleared up, it's going to go to the Secretary of State. It's going to be filed, and we're rolling with this, okay? Understand, this is a framework, okay? Insurance companies now are going to have to follow this framework when they're looking at using models, risk models. How many know about risk models? And all the CAL FIRE folks know about all the risk models. Well, now we're going to really hold the insurance companies, their feet to the fire. Okay, here it is, safer from wildfire. Number one, okay, this is the individual property. This is the building itself. So it has to have Class A rated roof. I'm sure everything that CAL FIRE and Orange County Fire Authority speaks about, you have to have a Class A fire rated roof. Maintain 5-foot ember-resistant zone around a home, including fence within 5 feet, non-combustible 6 inches at the bottom of exterior walls. And by the way, if you have something better than this, that's fine with us. This is the minimum that you should have, okay? Ember-resistant fire, resistant vents, okay? Going on, upgraded windows, double pane or added shutters, enclosed eaves. So it goes on and on. This is number one. This is the property itself. This is the building, the structure. Okay? And then number two is the surrounding area. So you're taking care of the actual individual property, the actual building. Now you talk about the surrounding area. Cleared vegetation, debris from under decks, removal of combustible sheds and other outbuildings from the immediate surrounding, at least a distance of 30 feet, and on, defensible space in compliance, including trimming and removal of brush and debris in compliance with law and local ordinances. So it's very common. So you start with the building, surrounding, and number three, which is really important, okay, because I've been in Paradise, and they said, hey, what can we do? The whole town burned down basically, about 90% of it did. And I was just there 6 months ago, and I would say maybe 30% of it has been built back up, maybe not even that. But you got to get to the community. So now we are talking about community, as a community together, making sure you have mitigation, criteria. So as a community, you should have clear, defined boundaries, local risk assessment in consultation with a local fire district or state agency, on and on. And it's important for you to understand one thing here. Make sure that current examples of what is considered a safe community would be something like a fire risk reduction community. There are some that are FireWise USA communities. You've heard of the FireWise Safe communities. They have to be, of course, in good standing. And, that sort of thing, that's the kind of community that we're looking for to be, within compliance as far as for the insurance companies to consider, okay? How can you protect your prepare? I think the fire chief talked about this. Inspect your structure, roof gutters, so-and-so. I won't go over all this. But maybe you can meet with community leaders to become a designated risk reduction community. I'm sure you're already doing that. But these are things that I'm talking to the community about. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. Yeah, actively speak with elected officials about issues and solutions. We are always looking for ways to get the information out to the community. And we're finding that working with, elected officials like mayors, and going up to the Board of Supervisors. I'm in touch constantly with Lisa Bartlett's office. It's one of my assigned electeds, and on, with Senator Patricia Bates, so forth. Always making sure that we are contacting, communicating with them, and finding out what your concerns are. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm sure we'll take questions.